Welcome back to Few Thoughts on Youth Ministry. I'm Mike, and really glad you're joining us for our second deep dive.
And I'm Claire. It's great to be back with you all.
Yeah, we were just blown away by the response to our first episode. Thanks to everyone who reached out and shared their thoughts, especially on AI. We're hearing you, and we promise to tackle that in a future deep dive.
For today, though, we're diving into something else that resonated with a lot of you. Helping youths overcome fear and step into leadership roles within youth ministry.
And before we jump in, just a quick reminder to follow us on Instagram at Few Thoughts on Youth Ministry for extra resources and some behind-the-scenes content.
We love connecting with you all there.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of fear and leadership. Think back to when you were a youth, those teenage years. Can you remember feeling that pressure to lead, that feeling of like, I can't possibly do that?
It's incredibly common. Over 60% of youths report feeling anxious about public speaking alone. Then add in the pressures of school social media and figuring out who they are. It's no wonder some shy away from leadership roles.
It's like imagine a youth standing at the bottom of this mountain, right? Looking up at what leadership seems to require. Where do we as youth leaders even begin to help them make that climb?
Well, maybe we can find some inspiration from the Bible. Even the greatest leaders in Scripture wrestled with fear and self-doubt.
Yeah, you're right. Moses, for example, God calls him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt in Exodus chapter 3, verse 11. But Moses is like, whoa, hold on. Not me. I'm not a good speaker. Please send someone else.
Yeah.
As we see in Exodus chapter 4, verse 3. He's terrified of the responsibility. Does that reluctance sound familiar?
Absolutely. And then there's Gideon in Judges chapter 6, verse 15. God calls him to be a warrior, but Gideon's response is basically, "Are you sure you have the right guy? My clan's the weakest, and I'm the least in my family." He even asks God for signs, not once, but twice, in Judges chapter 6, verses 36 through 40, just to be sure.
He needs that extra reassurance, doesn't he? That fear is so real for him. It's a feeling a lot of our youths are probably experiencing. And of course, who could forget Jonah? He literally books it in the opposite direction when God calls him to preach in Jonah chapter 1, verse 3.
But here's the thing. Despite their fear, God still used them in powerful ways. They didn't have to be perfect. They didn't have to have it all figured out. That's a really powerful message for youths today. God can work through those feelings of inadequacy. What matters is that willingness to say yes to God, even when it's scary.
I love that. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless. It's that willingness to say yes that matters. But I think we often box leadership into these very specific traditional roles, right? Leading from the front, being in the spotlight, giving the big speeches. Maybe that's why so many youth hesitate to step up.
That's such a good point. We need to broaden our definition of leadership, helping youth see that it can take on many forms. Think about Daniel. In Daniel chapter 1, verses 8 through 16, he wasn't leading armies or starting revolutions. He was quietly living out his faith in a foreign land, refusing to compromise his beliefs, even when facing serious consequences. That quiet, steadfast commitment is incredibly courageous. It's leadership, too.
So it's not about fitting into some mold. It's about leading in your own way, using your own unique strengths. Some youths might be gifted organizers, perfect for planning events. Others might be incredible listeners, natural peer mentors who can guide their friends through tough situations.
Exactly. Recognizing those individual gifts and talents is key. Helping youths understand how those strengths can be used to serve others is where we as leaders can make a real difference.
And maybe, just maybe, by shifting the focus from a narrow definition of leadership to recognizing the diverse ways they can contribute, we can make leadership feel less intimidating and more empowering. Because after all, they wouldn't be doing it for themselves, they'd be doing it for something bigger.
It's like that powerful reminder we see with the Israelites in Numbers chapter 13, verses 31 through 33. They were on the verge of the promised land, but fear blinded them to the opportunity. They focused on the giants, the challenges, and missed out on the incredible blessing right in front of them. We have to help our youths overcome those fears and step into their potential.
You're right. And that potential is huge. Our youths have the energy, the passion, the creativity to make a real difference in the world.
Yeah.
It's our job to help them see that and guide them on their journey.
Absolutely. In the next part of our deep dive, let's get practical. We'll talk about specific strategies to create a supportive environment within youth ministry, one where they feel safe to experiment, take risks, and step into those leadership roles, whatever form they may take. Welcome back to Few Thoughts on Youth Ministry.
We're diving right back into our conversation about helping youths overcome their fear and step into leadership roles, whatever those roles may look like.
And this time we want to get practical. How can we as youth leaders create that supportive environment where youths feel safe to take risks, to try and maybe even fail and ultimately grow as leaders?
That's a great question. It's one thing to talk about, this concept of a supportive environment, but it's another thing entirely to put it into practice.
Yeah, it starts with us, right? As leaders, we need to model the behavior we want to see.
Absolutely.
Huh.
We have to walk the walk. Our youths are watching us constantly. How we handle challenges, how we interact with others, how we live out our faith, it all matters.
Yeah, if we're complaining about serving or treating it like a chore, they'll pick up on that negative energy.
But imagine those youth seeing us jump in with joy, a genuine desire to serve. That's when it clicks. That's when we're truly teaching them what it means to lead.
Actions speak louder than words, for sure. It's also crucial to be mindful of the culture we're creating within our youth ministries. I think we have to acknowledge the pressures young people face today.
You're right. It's easy to forget what it was like to be that age, dealing with school social media friendships and trying to figure out who you are in the world. We can't expect them to just shrug off those pressures and jump into leadership roles without a second thought.
Exactly. We need to create a space where they can talk about those pressures, process their fears and anxieties, and know it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, it's about creating a space where vulnerability is welcomed and encouraged, where they know they can be honest about their struggles without fear of judgment.
We need to normalize those feelings of inadequacy, reminding them that everyone, even the most seasoned leaders, wrestle with fear and insecurity sometimes. What matters is how we respond to those feelings.
And wouldn't you agree that God's grace is sufficient for them in those moments of weakness, just as it is for us?
Absolutely. That's a message we need to reinforce constantly. And while we're talking about creating a supportive environment, let's not forget about celebrating the small wins.
That's so important. We can't wait for the big grand gestures of leadership. Sometimes it's about recognizing those small steps forward. Maybe a youth leads a single song during worship, or shares a prayer request, or even helps set up for an event.
Yeah, those seemingly small actions can be huge for building confidence and encouraging continued growth.
It's like they're saying to themselves, hey, I did that, and it wasn't so bad. Maybe I can handle a little more next time.
Right. And we as leaders need to be their cheerleaders, celebrating those small victories with them and encouraging them to keep pushing forward.
I think it's also crucial to remember that every youth's journey is different. Some are naturally more outgoing, ready to jump into leadership roles. Others might need more time, more encouragement, more support to find their footing.
Yeah, you can't compare apples to oranges. Each youth has their own unique timeline for growth. We can't expect everyone to flourish in the same way or at the same pace.
Right. It's about meeting them where they're being patient with their individual journeys and celebrating the unique gifts and talents each one brings to the table.
That brings up an important point. When we talk about supporting youths in leadership roles, we need to be clear about what those roles entail.
You're talking about setting expectations, making sure they understand the commitment involved.
Exactly. It's about having open and honest conversations up front about time commitments, responsibilities, and the support they can expect from us as leaders.
That way, there are no surprises, and they can make informed decisions about whether a role is right for them at that specific time.
And if they do decide to step up, ongoing training and mentorship are crucial. We can't just throw them into the deep end and expect them to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, we need to equip them with the tools they need to succeed. This could involve workshops on communication or conflict resolution, pairing them with older, more experienced mentors, or providing resources like books or articles about leadership.
Right. It's about being intentional about their development, giving them the resources and support they need to grow and develop their skills. But even with the best training and support, they're going to make mistakes. We can't shield them from that.
Mistakes are inevitable. It's all part of the learning process. We need to create that culture where it's okay to fail, where youths know they're not going to be judged or shamed if they mess up.
Because in those moments of failure, that's where real growth often happens. It's about turning those mistakes into teaching moments, opportunities to learn to adapt and to improve.
It's about helping them see those stumbles, not as setbacks, but as stepping stones on their leadership journey. But, beyond all the practical stuff, I think the most important thing we can do as youth leaders is to pray for the youths in our ministry.
Couldn't agree more. Prayer is essential. It's how we connect with God, seek His guidance, and invite His presence into their lives.
We need to be praying for them individually and collectively, asking God to reveal their gifts and talents, to give them boldness, and to empower them to use their talents to serve others.
And it's not just about us praying for them. We need to be encouraging them to develop their own prayer lives, to learn to seek God's guidance and rely on His strength when they feel inadequate.
Because ultimately it's God who calls us, equips us, and empowers us to serve. We're simply instruments in His hands.
And in that surrender to His will and allowing Him to work through us, amazing things can happen. It's incredible to witness the transformation that can occur when we step back and allow God to work in and through our youths.
Speaking of amazing things, let's talk about the incredible benefits youths experience when they step into leadership roles. It's not just about what they give, but what they gain from the experience.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. They're serving others, yes, but they're also developing invaluable skills along the way. Think about it. Communication, teamwork, problem-solving, decision-making.
These are essential life skills they can carry with them into their future careers, their relationships, every aspect of their lives. We're not just equipping them for youth group, we're giving them tools for life.
And as they step out of their comfort zones and take on new challenges, their confidence grows. They start to see themselves as capable individuals who can make a real difference in the world.
And let's not forget about the spiritual benefits. As they invest their time and energy in serving others, their faith deepens. They experience the joy of giving back the satisfaction of knowing they're making a positive impact.
They develop a deeper understanding of God's love and His call to serve others. It's a beautiful cycle of growth and transformation, both for the individual and for the community they're serving.
You know, one of the things that struck me as we were prepping for this deep dive was this emphasis on purpose, a theme that resonates so strongly with youths today.
Oh, absolutely. It's woven throughout Scripture. Daniel's story comes to mind.
Exactly. Remember in Daniel chapter 1 where he makes a conscious decision, he purposes in his heart not to defile himself with the king's food.
Even though it meant risking everything, his decision was rooted in his faith and his commitment to honoring God.
And because he was willing to stand firm in his beliefs, God blessed him with incredible wisdom and understanding. That ultimately allowed him to interpret dreams and visions impacting the course of history. What a powerful example.
It's a profound reminder that when we align our actions with God's purpose, incredible things can happen. You know, our youths are bombarded with messages about who they should be and what they should be doing. It's so easy to get caught up in the pressure to conform.
You're right. But Daniel's story shows us that true fulfillment comes from aligning our lives with God's plan for us.
And that takes courage. It takes conviction. And it takes a willingness to say yes to God, even when it's hard, even when it means going against the grain.
And that's where mentorship becomes so critical.
Absolutely. Youths need those adults in their lives who can guide them, who can help them discover their purpose and encourage them as they step out in faith.
They need those voices of truth reminding them that they're not alone, that God is with them every step of the way.
And you know, sometimes the most powerful form of mentorship is simply giving youths the freedom to lead.
I love that. It's about trusting them to figure things out, even if it means they might make mistakes along the way.
It's about letting go of our need to control everything and empowering them to take ownership. We need to create space for them to experiment, to try new things, to put their own spin on things.
Because when we give youths that freedom and responsibility, they often surprise us with their creativity, their passion, their commitment.
Yeah, it's like they breathe fresh air into the ministry. They bring new perspectives, innovative ideas, a contagious energy that can really revitalize things.
Absolutely. And that's what makes working with youth so exciting. They have this incredible potential just waiting to be unleashed.
So in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore specific strategies for empowering youths to lead, for equipping them to make a real difference.
We'll talk about how to help them develop their leadership skills, connect their actions to a larger purpose, and create opportunities for them to truly shine. Welcome back to Few Thoughts on Youth Ministry.
We're in the home stretch of our deep dive on helping youths overcome fear and step into leadership roles.
We've covered a lot of ground. We looked to the Bible for inspiration, considered what research tells us, and talked about creating a supportive environment where youths can flourish.
Now let's talk about the how. How do we actually empower these youths to lead? How do we equip them to make a difference in the world?
Yeah, it's one thing to say, hey, we want you to lead, but it's another to give them the tools and the support they need to really thrive on this journey.
Right. And we have to remember that leadership development is a process, not a destination. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, no checklist to complete. It's a journey, and that journey looks different for each youth.
For some, leading might mean jumping right in to facilitate a small group. For others, it might be helping with the setup or leading a game during youth group. Both are valuable forms of leadership.
Absolutely. It's about meeting them where they are, honoring those individual paces, and providing opportunities for growth that align with their strengths and comfort levels.
And that growth, much like learning to ride a bike, requires practice.
Exactly. You can read about it all you want, but until you get on that bike and actually try, you won't truly learn. And you know what? You're probably going to fall a few times.
Oh, yeah.
But those falls are part of the process.
So we need to create safe spaces for our youths to experiment, to try new things, even if it means they stumble along the way.
What if we had them lead a small group activity one week? Or maybe we challenge them to plan a service project they're passionate about.
We could even give them a role in planning the next youth event or leading a game during youth group. These hands-on experiences where they can actually put their leadership skills into practice are so valuable.
And of course, we as leaders need to be there every step of the way, providing guidance and support. Remember that mentorship piece we talked about earlier? It's especially crucial in those moments when youths are trying new things, stretching their leadership muscles.
A mentor can offer advice based on their own experience, help navigate tricky situations, and provide a much-needed perspective when things get tough.
They can also offer encouragement and a listening ear when those inevitable setbacks happen. Because let's be real, leadership isn't always smooth sailing. There will be challenges and moments of doubt. Having a mentor by their side can make all the difference.
Thinking back to our conversation about empowering youths, it strikes me how important it is to give them ownership, to really listen to their ideas and let them take the lead on projects and initiatives.
Sometimes we adults can get stuck in our ways thinking we know best, when in reality, our youths have so much to offer. Fresh perspectives, creative ideas, a contagious energy. We need to tap into that.
What if we let them choose the theme for the next youth event, or have them plan a service project based on an issue they're passionate about? Or maybe we give them a voice in choosing the curriculum for youth group or the music for worship.
Giving them a seat at the table involving them in the decision-making process shows them that their voices are valued, their ideas matter.
And when youths feel valued and empowered, they're far more likely to step up and lead. Here's my final thought for all of you listening. Don't be afraid to let youths lead, even if it means things might not go perfectly according to plan.
Right. Mistakes are part of the process. They're opportunities for growth and learning. Some of the most impactful learning experiences happen when things don't go as expected.
So let those youths experiment. Let them try new things.
Yeah.
Let them make those mistakes.
Because that's how they'll develop into the incredible leaders God created them to be.
And isn't that what it's all about? Helping them step into their God-given potential and make a difference in the world. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on youth leadership. We hope you found it helpful and encouraging.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, so be sure to connect with us on Instagram at Few Thoughts on Youth Ministry.
And until next time, keep those few thoughts coming.